Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 1 of The Imperfects. This is the winner of our poll. We just announced the winner today as well. And it will be temporarily taking the space for Vox Machina. We'll see how it goes and take it from there. So, as I've stated before, I know very little about this. I know it has something to do with supernatural elements. I know that Iñaki Godoy, who was Luffy in the live-action One Piece, is in it. And that's pretty much it. I do know it was canceled. So I know this is an only one-season thing. And the idea may be brought up like, oh, but why even bother watching it then if you know it's like not going to resolve everything, if you know it's going to be single season and not having actually been renewed any further. It's like, because I'm willing to give things a chance, and while certain shows or whatever would definitely have trouble really keeping interest if they were if they're canceled and everything. It's like some shows can still really do well in the run that they do have. Like, I would still suggest people check out like Dead End Paranormal Park, and that was canceled. The first two seasons are still really good and still worth watching. So it would be kind of hypocritical to say that about a show like that and not be willing to give a chance to a show like this. Because even if it was canceled, it can still be good, you know? I'm willing to give it a shot and see how it goes. Plus, it allows me to see Iñaki Godoy in something else. Because really the only thing I've seen him in is One Piece, and I want to see more of his acting ability in a different kind of role, because seeing him as Luffy in One Piece is one thing. I'm constantly, like, you know, thinking about how he stacks up to Luffy in the anime, and thinking about like his performance in that being kind of over the top and goofy. This series would probably require a different kind of performance, and I'm hoping that he shines in a completely different way here. So yeah. Let's see how this goes down, though. And we'll go from there. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I don't know what the rest of the season, what the rest of the 10 episodes are like. But this is definitely one of those occasions where, at least based off this first episode, I don't really understand why this would be canceled. Because this was really good. It's not perfect. It has some issues here and there. A couple things that could have been handled maybe a little better. But overall, it was good. The only reason I could think that they would probably cancel it is not enough viewership. But I can't say in regards to that, so I have no idea what the viewership was like for this. This is a series like I had heard of, like I'd heard of here and there. It's not like It's not like one of those shows on Netflix or beyond where, yeah, everyone's talking about it. It's obviously no Stranger Things or live action One Piece, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. There's a lot of shows on Netflix that are like this, that don't have a lot of discussion over them, that aren't really hugely talked about, but still get seasons and seasons and seasons of content. And it's just like, I don't get it. But again, I don't know all the details here surrounding this and how popular it is or isn't. Or I guess was or wasn't. Because Netflix only really cares about like the first week or so because of their binge model. They don't take into account people who watch things over time and prefer to watch things over time. If you don't watch the entire season in like a few days or up to a week, then they don't really count you at all. And it's ridiculous. But that's a discussion. That's a debate for another time. um, yeah, like I said, I thought this was good, but it could have been handled a little better in a couple places. The big thing for me, I think, was the cold open. I've seen a lot of shows and whatnot, movies even where they have a cold open that's like showing apart from the future, and then they're going to go back and explain how we got there. That happens a lot. Breaking Bad did it, for example. Um, but a lot of these ones that do it more successfully, I feel, the thing about them is that they don't reveal a lot. It's like, oh, they're gonna hook you in with, oh, something is happening here. It's weird, it's off, but it's not going to like go too much into too much info. Big example, Breaking Bad. Let's talk about that one. I guess spoilers for the first episode of Breaking Bad if you haven't seen it. Um, it's an older show, so I'm considering the limitations on that kind of void at this point. But if you haven't seen it, just skip ahead like a minute or two. But the first episode of Breaking Bad starts with a cold open that shows Walt just kind of in his underwear in the middle of the desert with the RV and kind of figuring things out. He seems confused, he seems lost, and he has a gun. And then it goes back to the past, and it's working on showing you how it got to that point. It doesn't tell you much of anything. It doesn't explain how it got to that point. It doesn't explain why he's there, what he's doing. It gives you so little information, but still it shows you a vulnerable, frightened, freaked out person in a wild situation, and you want to know more. The cold open here tells you too much. It's the entire, like, showing the entire thing with the conversation about, oh, like, technically yes and no to being human still. Um, Iñaki, Juan, his character, um, complaining about, killing a person and being a cannibal and everything. It's like it doesn't tell everything, it doesn't explain everything, but it explains too much. It doesn't give you enough information. I feel like a better cold open would have been Juan waking up with the blood and everything on his face and seeing, like, the corpse, the mush of that dog. That would have been a better cold open. Like, you could piece together some information from that, of course, but it would also be so little that it wouldn't tell you enough. But with having, you see Dr. Burke working on this guy who's clearly dead, Juan worrying about, being a cannibal and killing him and everything. It gives you much more than you should have in a cold flash forward open like that. I think that's one of the bigger issues in this, though. Which, it's a notable issue. But most of the other things in this first episode are more minor, like just little nitpicks over the pacing could have been a little better. Having to split the focus between three main characters does bring in a challenge with that, to be fair. Um, but I feel like we got the gist of it fine. I feel like most of it was okay. So let's talk about our three characters. We have Tilda, Abby, and Juan. Tilda is a punk rock singer. She's part of this band who is trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get these great gigs and everything, and yeah, just being a band. And they seem to be doing pretty well, but she ends up having an incident happen at at one of their shows, which apparently has happened before. Her medication is running out, and she hasn't gotten a refill on her prescription yet. And so at the concert, she starts like hearing everything in an exaggerated fashion. Her hearing becomes a lot greater to the point where she's hearing everything around her much louder, and it's not just distracting her from being able to sing and perform, but, you know, just generally freaking her the fuck out. Which, fair. Like I said in the reaction, that would probably be the worst one for me, just based on their initial side effects before they realized what was going on. Because again, before realizing Juan turned into a chupacabra, it's like you're just thinking about the blacking out thing, which I'll get to. But between that, the pheromones, and the blacking out, it's like that would be the worst one because that would be more actively annoying. The pheromones you could avoid by, you know, avoiding people. Just actively avoiding people constantly. Which I do most of the time anyway. Mostly because I just don't have money to go out and do things half the time, and so I'm mostly just sitting around inside. But yeah. And with the blackouts, it's like, again, I've dealt with that. I've had blackout issues in the past. I know how to deal with that. It's scary. Like, to wake up from having blacked out and everything and being in a cold sweat and shit, it's really scary. But the idea of, like, having that hyperacusis, being able to, like, just have that insane level of hyper hearing where you can hear everything around you at such a high degree, such a high decibel, to the point where it's actively hurting you, like, that's a problem. Yeah. So Tilda starts to have some issues with the rest of her band, it seems, and she ends up at one point even overhearing them, planning to get rid of her and look for a new singer and whatnot, or I guess just replace her with one of the band members already there. Then we have Abby. Abby is she is a scientist trying to go to, you know, upper echelon of schooling, and suddenly she ends up, as once again, her prescription ends up running out and not getting refilled. She ends up facing some different issues. Her body begins to release pheromones that are extremely strong and attract people to her to a aggressive degree, let's just say. People become exceptionally sexually infatuated with her, like to an unnatural level. And so she's obviously freaking out about this and has to start using this air freshener to get rid of her pheromones in the air and neutralize them and everything. And we also have Juan, Iñaki Godoy's character. Juan is a young comic book artist. He's at an art school and is just trying to make, a good life of something that's a passion for him, something that he's been working on through, I believe it was his brother, I want to say, who inspired him and everything. It seems like he's living with his girlfriend currently, his partner at the moment. Also, by the way, Abby is ace, which makes her attracting people a lot bigger of a deal for her. It's like that's worse for her considering she's asexual. So yeah, but yeah, Juan is a comic book artist, and apparently his dean or someone is telling him that this is a waste of time, and that the school's resources shouldn't be used for this, because apparently he's been putting out like thousands of comics using the school printers and everything. They see it as a waste of time because it's a comic book, but he agrees to let Juan go in this when Juan promises him 10% of his earnings. Which, is fucked up for multiple reasons, but it's the best he could do at the moment to probably not get kicked out. Anyway, at a party, he ends up passing out, blacking out after only 2 beers, and wakes up in the middle of a field with blood on his face. After going home, he manages to avoid his partner seeing and ends up finding out about this story about this terror of Tacoma and sees that he apparently attacked a raccoon. He ends up blacking out again later on, and when he comes to again, he finds that he had killed a dog this time. Now, during all of this, they also go to visit Dr. Sarkov, who is the doctor who had been helping them with their genetic effects and everything since they were young. This had been a thing that they had been working on. The pills were supposed to be keeping them in line, but they didn't know the details, and they didn't know about these quote-unquote side effects. They didn't know, they thought it was just normal stuff and that their pills would, help them feel normal and stuff. They didn't know that, like, they were going to get, like, powers, basically. That they were going to become a banshee, a succubus, and a chupacabra. Like, of course that wouldn't cross their mind. So they go to try and talk to Dr. Sarkov, and he reassures them, he gives them a blood test, and even gives them new pills. But the pills end up being a placebo, and that's when they have their second attacks and everything. Their second interactions with their powers occurring. With Tilda, that's when she finds out about her band replacing her and everything. Abby has an incident at the lab she's working at, and that's when Juan, attacks the dog. So, yeah. It seems that Sarkov is not on their side and is a bad guy, which is not really hard to see. He's very fucking sus right from the beginning. So they end up trying to go meet with him, but end up finding Dr. Burke there instead, and are attacked by a guy who happened to be around all of them earlier on, who happened to just be there at separate points for all of them. He attacks them trying to get everything that they have there, and even launches Dr. Burke kind of across the room. But Juan transforms into full Chupacabra and attacks and seemingly kills him. Dr. Burke starts to explain a lot more about what's going on. Um, they find out more about how they were experimented on and their parents had signed off on it. And yeah, Dr. Burke and Dr. Sarkov kind of had a falling out and have been acting differently, acting against each other in terms of their genetic shit going on. And because Sarkov stopped their prescriptions and stopped them from getting their pills, it's basically revealed that they're being used as an experiment to see if the side effects would occur. And now you can't just get back on the pills. It won't really help. It's not to stop the side effects. It's to prevent them from happening in the first place. So, yeah. They end up doing an autopsy on the guy that had attacked them. And after Juan comes to, he's, let off. He was chained to a bed. He's let out. And that's when it's revealed that, oh, this guy's not actually dead, and his side effect seems to be regeneration or healing of some sort. He appeared to be dead, but he has come back to life. Now, this could mean a number of things. If you want to compare him to another, creature, this could be like a zombie or, again, a number of things that have, kind of healing, regenerative abilities. But yeah, so it ends off on quite an interesting cliffhanger. And it's just a matter of okay, what next? Is this guy going to end up helping us? It kind of seemed at first like he was maybe working for Sarkov, but based on his reaction at the end there, I'm thinking probably not. He probably is upset at Sarkov too. He's probably an experiment as well. I'm definitely interested to see what his deal is. Excuse me. But yeah, there's some good action. The effects are okay. They're not amazing or anything. Juan's Chupacabra form is, the CG's not the best. But it's not absolutely terrible. I've seen a lot worse. So I can't really complain about it too much. The design is fine. It's very werewolf-like in its design, which is pretty cool. Just different from what I typically think of as a chupacabra, And I've done actual school papers on chupacabras when I was young. I just found it to be a fascinating cryptid, so. But yeah, he could be a bad guy, he could be a good guy, and it's hard to tell where this guy's going to end up leaning. But I'm very interested in finding out. Even though I do know that this does end, and that the season wasn't renewed, and it was canceled and everything, I am very interested in where this goes. Also, I'm very interested to see if they learn to fully control their powers. So yeah, definitely interested in the rest of this. We'll probably get through this no problem, and then come back to Vox Machina. And we'll probably take this one episode at a time because they're about an hour long. How long was this one exactly? 40 minutes. Yeah, they're probably all around that. So, probably only do one of these at a time. I don't know. We'll see. But I thought it was good. Like its title, it's kind of imperfect, but I don't really expect most anything I watch to be perfect. And practically nothing I do is. You may have an episode or two that you could consider perfect here and there, but as an entire show, not really. The closest I would say, honestly, is Carol and Tuesday. I stand by that Carol and Tuesday doesn't have a single bad episode, but I wouldn't call it perfect. Um, and you might be surprised I didn't choose One Piece, but One Piece has some questionable issues here and there. It's still my favorite series of all time, but yeah, it's not perfect either. Um, but yeah, I didn't go into this expecting perfection. I just went into it hoping to be entertained, and I definitely was. So I think that I can count this as a success, in a way. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode of The Imperfects? Let me know, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.